What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be going over day 4 of the Dev Talk. And starting out, we're going to be going over the challenge system. So they've been talking about revamping the challenge system. As everybody knows, the results screen is not showing any indicator of actually completing challenges. So they said they want to make that happen, as well as implement different types of challenges and things within that nature. They also says that the challenge system was made in a way that they didn't think that players would constantly be grinding challenges in order to level up. They think it would happen in a sense just naturally through playing the game, but they see that's not the case, so they're going back and revamping it. People have talked about XP gain, but there are challenges attached to that, so that will not be the case. Um, Next thing we're going to talk about is weapons. So they have been going over all the weapons. As you know, people have talked, are they going to add new weapons? They're going to do this with weapons. Ultimately, no one's known. It's only a week within the game, so they're not too for sure. However, when it comes to the buffs or debuffs, they kind of have been getting a lot of mixed reviews all over the place. So they're going to continue monitoring that and see if they need to buff a weapon, if they need to decrease a weapon. Now let's go into enemies. So far they're looking at the enemy types. People have asked about the medic. They've asked about some of the Payday 2 enemies returning, but they overall said if they find like an area that needs to be satisfied by a new enemy, that they'll probably either see if they can take Payday 2's enemy, re-implement it, or just create a whole new one. That was going back to like the medic and the SWAT van assault. Now I'm just gonna go talk about a couple of other things that was said in the stream. So far, the servers are really good, and matchmaking seems to be stable. From the patch that they implemented on Tuesday, they're also going to implement another patch on Friday, so that's really good to know that you can log in and play the game. They're looking at more security modifiers for stealth players. I think something really cool would be able to add lasers, or maybe a guard that's on top of a tower and a watchtower just with a spotlight. And if you get spotlighted, then you have to mask up. I think that would be really cool. So they are looking into more modifiers. Um, they're also looking into some of the other heists. So a lot of people are asking about Payday 2 heist, if they can bring it back into this Payday, but it's unconfirmed because, like I said, it's only been a week. But hopefully later they get something that they can do. Akimbo Guns perk is also another thing that they don't really for sure that they can bring in, just because it's something that could be considered game breaking, I think, in my own opinion. So they're still looking into that. I already talked about, so difficulty. People are wanting more difficulties, and they said that if they do make a difficulty, then it will have to be very well implemented. They don't just want to increase the damage, making you one shot. They want to feel like that the difficulty is something that was intentional, meaning the difficulty makes sense. I personally think if they could make one to where you only have one down, one revive, or you only have no revives, to where it's more realistic, but you get more experience and money, that would be something that they could implement. I could definitely well see that. Next, we're going to go offline mode. Still on for sure about. Everybody keeps talking about a safe house, so it won't be surprised if they add that post launch, because I could really see that's some a cool little feature that will come in. Another thing I see is a lot of people are upset because a lot of Payday 2 features are gone. They addressed this in this day 4 stream. They said like basically it was made with a different game engine, and so everything for Payday 3 is basically a new game because they had to go in and redo everything. And the only thing they could really take is the ideas and concepts of some of these enemies and weapons and such. But even then, they had to remake it to implement them. Um, they talked about upgrade system, from going to, like, you bought the regular game, if you bought the silver, if you bought the gold, if you can upgrade to the next, so you can go from like silver to gold or basic to gold. It's currently unknown. Like they're not for sure if they want to do it or not, but I could see it being implemented. VR is not confirmed as something they want to do because they said Payday 2 took 1 year, so they might be able to do that later. About narcotics in the game being less prevalent, they said they didn't do that intentionally. They said they intentionally made the maps. I know if you go to that disco heist, there's cocaine, so that's something about narcotics. But they said they also might, implement a heist later that deals with, getting ingredients or something like that. Next thing is policy for modders. So they said that they want to create a policy for the Payday 3 modders because that is something that they already see is happening. So they just want to go ahead and release a policy, but it's still unconfirmed. The escapist perk only works when masked on, and that was intentional, but in the description it does not say whether on or off, so that's something that they want to go back in and fix. They want to. Someone talked about graphic settings, so they talked about Bloom and other graphical settings that you can set yourself. They said it's most likely going to happen later in the post-launch because that's something that they're interested in. They also talked about the overkill spawn location, so they know that sometimes when playing, like if you've ever played Road Rage and you call in your overkill, you have to run way, way far away, like 60 to 100 meters or feet, whatever it is, in order to get your weapon. And they've talked about that, and they said, okay, well, just let the team know what would be more ideal for the spawn and everything. Someone talked about naming a loadout so that they can like be equipped with what they want instead of not being equipped. That's something they're also looking into. Talked about Baby Driver DLC as something that they can create. I'm not too for sure about that one. Skills descriptions vary on a weapon type, not flat rate. That's talking about like if you see a skill that said like hip fire damage, hip fire increased. It's not a flat rate. It varies from whatever weapon you're using. For instance, it might be 10% in an AR, but it might be only 5% on a shotgun and 20% on a submachine gun. It's all very different. They went and they talked about fall damage and reason for not being able to jump while you're not masked up. And the reason for that is because it broke the game. Obviously, they made certain parameters for not being masked up as well as being masked up. There's certain things you can and cannot do. And the reason why for that is because they tested it out and it just broke the game. Next thing, flashbangs and grenades don't work on the dozer. I don't know if you know that, but the smokes grenades work. They said if you listen to what he says as you're playing, he'll give you indications on the effectiveness of grenades and flashbangs. Next thing, they talked about DLC. So they want to have a good rate of free and paid DLC coming out. Once again, the game's only a week old, so there's really no way that they'll know specifically what they're doing until they get further down the line. Finally, someone asked about skill points and like when you game them, if there's a guide or something like that. And they said there's not a guide, but however, that's something they want to include in the in-game menu. I said finally, but this one's actually the final one, and it's going to be talking about C stacks. Some people have been saying that they're a little bit pricey. However, the people say there is a finite number, which means there's a certain number of what you could spend on all of the gear, cosmetics, whatever, etc., money term wise, that later down the line you're going to have abundance of money, and C stacks is a way to get rid of that money or as like a link in order to do something else with the cash you gain in game. And that is it. That is all for the day 4 stream. I'll be continually giving updates as they come out. I know I missed the third one, but I mean the second one, my bad, but that is what it is. Thank y'all guys for joining and stay tuned.